first Ange got killed, naturally. And then Phil Testa was blown up.
Is this a nail bomb? Nail bomb
This is the nail bomb, making
Okay.
it look like it was the roofers that killed him. It goes back to Angelo Bruno, who got Tony Caponero to be his consigliere. And Tony actually didn't get along with Ange. He wanted to make money. He wanted to be the boss too. So he went to New York to complain about Ange, because he was friendly with the guys in New York and this Frank Thierry. And this fella told him, said, look, do what you got to do with Ange. Straighten it out, you know? So he took it where the guy was telling him to kill Angelo Bruno. So he set it up where John Stanford would drop the window, where they were parked out in front of Angelo Bruno's house. And as they were sitting there talking, Stanford lowered Ange's window and Tony hit him with a shotgun behind his head and killed him. And after that, everything went really crazy. We didn't know who did it, and everything really went bad.
Now, I've heard a lot of different versions of why Angelo got killed. What story do you know why he got killed?
He wanted to take over. He wanted to be the boss.
Got it.
That's
pretty much it.
That's it. Well, that, and by being the boss, you're going to have a ton of money coming in. He was shaking down Long John as soon as Ange was killed. He grabbed Long John, who was Angelo Bruno's big earner, because he was the drug dealer, and told him how much he wants, and asked him how much you make, how much you got coming in, and this is how much I want.
This is how much I want. You just got to give me what I want.
Yeah, that's it.
So what's he making at the time before he?
I'll tell you, they were selling that P2P from what we found out. And he came in 55-gallon drums. And contractors, cement contractors would use it by throwing it in the concrete, from what I understand. They would make $500,000 on the 55-gallon drums. They would get the drums for nothing. Of course, contractors didn't know what they were using it for by making P2P with it. And they were making a ton of money with it.
$500,000 per drum.
Yeah.
And how many drums were they moving?
A ton of them. I don't know. I mean,
a ton of them. You're not talking like...
a lot of them.
So you said when this happened, you said things got very ugly. What does that mean, things got very ugly?
Well, we didn't know who killed Ange. We wanted to find out. My uncle went to New York, sat down with guys. New York was really upset. Like, you know, boss is killed. The commission is saying, whoa, what's going on here? Who gave the okay for this? My uncle finally was trying to get everything together, to find out what was going on. Phil Testa didn't go to New York. He was afraid to.
Why is that?
He didn't know anybody in New York.
Okay.
And my uncle was the guy, he knew everybody. So as he met with the Chin, Fat Tony, and everybody, trying to find out what happened, they called Frank Sindone up there to find out, and Ange's cousin.
Did they ever find out who did it?
They found out who did it. They finally called, I can't think of his name. All these things that we're talking about is the first time I'm thinking about them in a long time, man.
It's actually a good thing. It means that you've gone back to having a normal life. Like, these are not things that you talk about on a daily basis.
I never think about them.
You never think about them?
No, not at all. Not at all. Caponegro. So there's a meeting with Caponegro. They call him, the first time they call Caponegro, he don't show up. So my uncle's there waiting. They finally, okay, try and get a hold of him, and they tell him to come. So they sent for him again, and they said, who gave you the okay to kill Ange? And he told them about Frank Thierry. He said, well, I talked to him, he gave me the okay. And he said, I didn't give you the okay, I just told you to straighten it out. I didn't tell you to kill him. So right there, they killed him. They took him, and they tortured him. They stuck $20 bills up his ass, really gave him a tough way to die.
Now, was anybody playing games behind closed doors, that somebody did manipulate him into taking him out?
They did, yeah.
Okay,
they
so
did
they
manipulate
played
him. Yeah, they played him to kill Ange because there was a big bookmaking business up in North Jersey that Thierry wanted a piece of. And with him out of the way, he had no problem taking it over.
If it was played and manipulated that he did it, then why take him out? Is it to say that it wasn't our call? It was somebody else that decided to do it?
Ange wasn't popular. He wasn't popular with the commission.
Who would he be close to? Was he a Paul Castellano type of guy where he was just a money guy?
Yeah, he was just a money guy. Carlo Gambino was his man. When Carlo Gambino died, he lost all his power, Ange. I mean, Castellano didn't like him. None of them guys really had any respect.
So it was coming. Everybody knew it was kind of coming.
Yeah.
So then they handle the killer the way they do. They say, well, I didn't tell you to kill him. I just told you, do what you need to do. What happens after that? Was that a statement to the marketplace that if you do anything, this is the kind of damage you're going to get?
They made an example of him. Yeah, if you're going to kill a boss, this is what's going to happen without the okay. You're going to kill somebody without the okay. This is what happens. After that, they wanted to make my uncle actually the boss of Philadelphia at that time. But he said no. He said Phil Testa's been the underboss for a long time. He said.
Nicky said no.
Yeah, my uncle said no.
Even as a power-hungry guy
Yeah.
like him said no.
He said no. He figured he was close with Phil Testa.
Okay.
And he said, look, he's been Ange's underboss. I know him a long time. He said, well, he better make you the underboss then. He said, I'm sure he will, which he didn't.
He didn't.
No. He made Pete Casella his underboss. And the reason he made Pete Casella his underboss because he's a Sicilian. He's Sicily. And he made my uncle the consigliere.
Sicily is somebody from Sicily.
Yes.
Okay. And for full disclosure, it's not a curse word. It's not a bad word when
It's
you
not
say
a bad word.
It's
No,
just-
it's a nickname.
It's a nickname
Yeah.
for folks from Sicily.
Yes.
And is there some rivalry where some folks from Italy don't like each other? Is there?
Well, it's a rivalry where the Sicilians think they're the true Italians, and they don't consider anybody else Italian. Like, we wouldn't be considered Italian to them.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. And that's pretty obvious. Everyone knows
It's
that.
obvious, yeah.
Okay. And what matters to them the most? Is it money? Is it
Money.
pride? Is it loyalty? Is
Oh, yeah, they're money people.
it above everything?
Yeah.
And that's also known amongst
It is.
everybody.
It is. It is known.
Okay. So then what happens next?
Now, this Pete Casella was he used to be a drug dealer years ago, and he said he was out of the business and all this. He didn't have any money. He got hooked up with Chicky Narducci, who had a lot of money. And Chicky Narducci talked him into killing Phil Testa, where Pete would become the boss, and Chicky Narducci would become the underboss. And he laid a lot of money on him. What happens, they made this plan where the Casellas were good with bombs, because he had a brother, Tony Casella, also. And they had this kid that set a bomb near Phil Testa's house, right next to his door. Actually, he had a wall, concrete wall here on his porch. So when Phil went to go open the door, the bomb went off and the blast blew him all the way to the back door and killed him. And Pete thought he was going to become the boss. Once he was killed, after that, when we went in and all that, he sent for my uncle. Actually, it was at Phil Testa's funeral, wake. Chicky Narducci was there, and he told my uncle, he said, Pete Casella wants to see you at Johnny Capella's house, which is his brother-in-law. So my uncle says, could I bring Chucky with me? And he said, I don't give a fuck who you bring. So right there, we knew something was wrong. I grabbed Johnny Capella. I said, what's going on? Because I heard what Chicky said. He said, oh, maybe your uncle he shouldn't go over there. I said, why? Why? Why shouldn't he go? So I told my uncle, he said, no, we're going. So I grabbed Johnny Capella. I said, come on, you're staying with me. If something happens to my uncle, I'm going to kill you right here. So we had him at the 9M bar. My uncle went. Thank God they came out alive. He said when they first got there, there was this kid that set the bomb, had a radio, listening for police calls in his ear. So they walked in. Pete was there, his brother Tony. Pete said, look, we know who killed Phil Testa. He's telling my uncle. And my uncle said, yeah, who? He said, it was the Roofers Union. So we want you to kill John McCullough, because he's the one. He said, John McCullough didn't kill Phil Testa. He said, I just send Ralph Napoli to the Chin to find out what's going on over here. I'm going to send a message that you're telling me McCullough killed Phil Testa, and we'll see what happens. Pete said, oh, crap, what do you want to cause problems now? You know. He said, no, this is what we're going to do. He sent Ralph Napoli over there to find out what was going on and all. So my uncle sent word with Ralph up to the Chin to make an appointment to go see them to find out what was going on. So he told Pete. Pete was really upset about that because he figured, you know, it's going to come out that he was involved with killing Phil Testa. So anyway, they left there, waited for Ralph to come back, had the appointment with the Chin, and he went up the next day. He told them about what Pete said and all, and told them that he was lying about it. So they sent for Pete Casella.
They did?
Yeah, they sent for him.
And your reasoning for doing this is for things to not get out of control? Were you just kind of trying to protect yourself as well?
We were trying to find out who killed him. We know we didn't do it.
Because if you won't go the wrong route and you assume that somebody did who didn't, it could turn into mayhem.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we have to find out who really killed him. We knew it wasn't John McCullough. It wasn't the Roofers Union. They put the nails in the bomb to make it look like it was coming from the Roofers Union.
Were they assuming, or were they trying to play a power game against you guys?
Were
were they trying to kind of, deflect it on somebody else?
They were trying to deflect it on
but
somebody else.
But they knew who killed them?
Yeah.
Okay.
They knew.
So who killed them?
It was Pete Casella and Chicky Narducci and all the kids they had around them.
What's the motive for them doing that?
Pete wanted to be the boss because he figures once he becomes the boss, he'll make Chicky Narducci the underboss. He'll make a ton of money. Chicky would lay a lot of money on him. But see, Chicky didn't understand you just can't become the boss. You got to get approved by the commission to be the boss of Philadelphia. So they didn't understand that. They thought they could just become the boss on their own, but they got to be approved. And they found out the hard way.
So what happens next?
So what happens next? We wanted to kill Pete and Tony, but they didn't give us the okay. The commission didn't give us the okay to kill Pete. So they said, look, you go to Florida, you're retired, get out of here, you're done, to Pete Casella. His brother Tony, we got the okay to kill him. Chicky Narducci, the other fellows, the kid that made the bomb, everybody involved, we got the okay to kill.
Everybody, you got the green light for everybody.
Everybody, except for Pete.